The content provided in this video is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. For medical advice, please schedule an appointment with one of our Hope for Healing providers or the appropriate medical professional. This material is the property of Hope for Healing and is not to be shared or replicated in any way without written consent. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Brigitte. It is just an honor. I am super privileged because, well, you're my provider. And so it's exciting
Yes.
to have this. But first, I want to say on behalf of everyone at Hope for Healing and as well as people that don't even know, congratulations for 40 years of amazing service.
I can't believe it.
Right. It is genuinely a gift. Hold on, let me switch something real quick, actually. There we go. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so like I said, congratulations to 40 years of service. Has it felt like 40 years, or is it kind of one of those that just kind of came up on you?
Well, it depends on the day, but I think it has flown by. It really has. I was reminiscing over the weekend with my husband, remembering when I graduated and how much little I knew, and I thought I knew a lot. And how much has happened in the last 40 years. I'm very blessed. I'm very blessed.
That's amazing. Well, we are absolutely blessed at Hope for Healing to have you. But since 40 years is a lot to cover, let's dive in. So how did, like, a little bit about growing up? Can you tell us a little bit about how you got on this medical journey?
Well, I was certainly a daddy's girl. I mean, I was very in awe with my father, and we had a wonderful relationship. Great with my mom too, but I certainly sought being with him. And he was a family doctor in a small island called St. Lucia, and he was also a politician. So he was known, everybody knew who he was. They always called him Doc. And I would really strive to spend time with him. And as a teenager, he would go to clinics, different parts of the island, really rural and very third world, a little clinic where everybody would wait on a bench. There'd be hundreds of people he would see in a day. And I would sit there and just watch him work. And he was as passionate with the first patient as he was with the last one. And he just enjoyed it, and he loved taking care of people. And we would have patients come to our house with chickens and eggs and vegetables in payment for his service. And his passion was delivering babies, and he would be out so much at nighttime, and kind of in the morning I'd say, so would you have a baby last night? Oh yeah, we had a good live one. He just loved his work so much, and I think that's what inspired me. Certainly not the finances, because we had plenty of food, but it's not like we had lots of abundance. But he had a love for his work, and that inspired me, and people loved him. He was very well loved in the island, and he was a doctor for 50 years, 60 years. He was long. So that's what got me going down that road and looking into, I didn't want the night work, the staying up all night delivering babies. Though I prefer to sleep. But that whole avenue of serving and helping people be healthy was where it started.
That's amazing. You had me super emotional just because the legacy that you're carrying in with this family is to see the hard, like, the beauty of everything is we kind of talk about, oh, you're a doctor, but like the hard work that goes into caring for your patients. And just, it's so beautiful to see how you carry the legacy of your father so well. And how I'm honored to know you in the story. So
one thing he inspired me to, we always had lots of books. He was always reading journals and always learning. And to me, that, even though as he got older in age, he was always learning. And that is a great example to see that we're always learning and never can stop learning.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like that can feel so um contradictory in some ways of our culture to be like, okay, well, I got the degree now, I got the degree and now I know it all. But like something that you carry with a badge of honor, and I know it is a value of hope for healing as well, is to dive into this love of learning. We are lifelong learners and we keep that open, and you show that within the care of your patients. So whenever you were going through, where did that, or was there a transition from like the more conventional way of looking at things to the functional medicine? Was there a transition of that, or how did that work in your life?
Well, I think it started slowly because patients would bring me supplements. They would bring me a bag and they'd say, "What do you think of this?" or "What do you think of that? Can I replace my cholesterol medication with this?" And I'd say, "Well, I don't know, but I'll look into it." And that's where I started researching for my own information and for my own knowledge to be able to give them an educated answer and to see results from just taking supplements, changing lifestyle. And that's where I started really having a desire to know. And then when I hit my 40s, that's where I personally physically started changing with the whole change in menstrual cycle and
Mhm.
hot flashes and not sleeping and anxiety and just what's going on. And the options with traditional medicine, I didn't want to take the Premarin and the Provera. There must be a natural way, because this is not a disease, it's part of
Right.
us getting older, what's changing and what's causing the changes. And
Mhm.
that's where I started looking into really educating myself in, at the time, we were calling it complementary alternative to, just a different way of solving problems and looking at how the body works than what I'd been taught, strictly allopathic medication for
Mhm.
problem, medication for a symptom. And so it took time to get educated because I did that while I worked full time, taking courses, and all of them were in the US. So, because I was in Canada, and in Canada, it's not a big avenue there just because of the way the system is. And so
Mhm.
it took me a few years and I got in contact with what's called the Academy of Anti-Aging and Regenerative Medicine. It's out of Florida, and they offered a fellowship course. So it took me a few years to get that and to really start understanding. And that was just the first level of learning, just opening up that information, and it's a continuing growing and learning more and more.
Well, what I think I what I love to hear about what you're saying is that your patients came to you, and I think it would have been very easy. And I know that people have actually, our patient population have experienced this, is when they have presented to their doctors a different way of looking at things. Their doctors were instantly, regardless if they knew anything about it, would instantly be like, no, just keep doing what I've told you. But like the humility that when someone came to you with a different thing that you didn't know, you're like, okay, well, I don't know, but let's find out. And to be able to lead that way, for me, just would be create such a safety in knowing that like there are other things and you're open, and that honest, your searching led you down this path to be able to help yourself. um so we're going to get into this in a little bit, but specifically something you said really stuck out, which is that this isn't not an illness, this is a part of life. So what you personally were going through was a part of life. And so frequently we come into agreement with like, oh, hot flashes, that we come into the symptoms are a part of the change versus just that, well, this change happens, how can we support this change? Can you talk a little bit more about your passion behind that and really getting into the root of what is going on within our bodies?
Yes, our exposure, we're all a sum of what we've lived in the past, our genetics, and everybody goes through a little differently because we're all so unique. And understanding that process, and especially here with understanding the genetics, we really get to look under the hood and see why this aging process is affecting you versus somebody else differently.
Mhm.
And then diving into what exposures you've had and sort of what the life that you've had, the stresses, and really understanding all those factors, all those, whether they're antecedents, even before you're born, whether they are
Mhm.
triggers happening now, or some mediators, which is things that enable that dysfunction to persist, and then addressing each one individually and taking the time to help the person understand. I think a big part of functional medicine is educating, just like I had to get educated. We all do, to empower us to take the right action, because we all want to be healthy. We want to have a life where we can enjoy what we want to do and not let health be the deterrent. And so with functional medicine, we really enable people and empower people how they can help themselves. Just like the medical degree certainly gave me an understanding initially of the anatomy, the physiology, but
Right.
the why was a great avenue for functional medicine. Why did it dysfunction? If you know how it functions normally, then if there's a dysfunction, why? What's the trigger, and what can we do to support it to go back into the healing and into health?
Right. Well, because something that you told me, I remember in my first appointment with you, is that you believed that our bodies were designed to heal. Like our bodies are designed to do that. So where did that passion come from?
Well, I mean, not only that, when I got into medical school, I wanted to know why did the body work? Like what was it? So I was interested more in surgery initially. I'd go into the operating rooms, and even in growing up, I'd follow the surgeons to understand what makes life, and somebody under anesthesia, the heart's still working, they still breathing, but what is it making them alive? And that's where my spiritual quest began, and to understand who created mankind and what's behind that. And so understanding that and recognizing that God made the body to heal. Like you cut yourself, it's not just going to stay open, the cut, it's
Right.
going to heal. And if it's not healing, like with somebody like a diabetic, it's because there's issues in the whole metabolism why it's not healing. And as you fix that, the body will heal. And so it humbles me, because I'm not causing you to heal. I'm just helping the body do what it's designed to do. And having that humility is very empowering, because then you're able to receive help, and you're able to be encouraged and to learn. You're able to learn.
That's amazing. Well, I also feel like it's so encouraging for me. I remember when you said that phrase in the appointment, it was one of those moments for me that said, at this point, we're partnering with God. Like we are partnering with the way that I was made. And I remember taking that phrase back home and it being a life changing point for all my friends and family that were praying for me and that were supporting me in that way. They were like, hey, we can partner with that. We can get excited about that. And so we're really honored that that is the journey you took us on, and giving our hope back and seeing that journey. So I know this is something that people, so there's probably will be a few more questions with this. So what are some of the things that you're specifically passionate about with helping people see in their wholeness, like their wellness journey?
Well, I like to see people get to their optimal health, and it depends on your stage of life, and men, women. To me, fatigue, it seems to be a really universal concern, is fatigue, where you don't have the energy to do what you want to do. And there's so many reasons, and just unraveling that piece by piece to enable you to get back into having good energy, and to give you routes to take that, not medication, but some things that are under your control. Then I always enjoy the hormonal categories, because that's how got me going in the first place. Women in their journey, whether it's perimenopause, premenopause, or menopausal, and understanding. And the biggest key with functional medicine is understanding not necessarily it's a problem with the specific hormones, but it's with the production of hormones and how you metabolize hormones.
Wow.
So it's a little more than, just give you some hormones and fix you right up. It's understanding why it's dysregulated in the first place. And that's beautiful, because once you unravel the dysregulation, the body goes back into homeostasis. It goes back into the way it should be balanced. And so even with men with low testosterone, that is such a concern. And I understand that. And what can we do? There's so many ways versus just giving testosterone. Let's
Right.
understand more why and what can we do to support the body to make it, and to find out why the body hasn't been making it, that type of thing.
Okay, so this is something that I would really love to get your insight on. This is that it can seem that if I just give myself hormones, or if I were a guy to give myself testosterone, or do whatever it needs to be done, it can seem like that would be a faster fix than really getting to the root of why this is happening. But I know, because of Hope for Healing, we really do believe in getting to the root. Can you talk a little bit about why you believe that this method is better for the patient in the long run?
Well, the thing is, if you just give hormones, you're suppressing your own production, and you're not really figuring out why. So symptom-wise, you could feel well, but you're always having to take these hormones, and then you have to adjust the dose as time changes. And then you can go through the problem with it causes other problems. If you have trouble metabolizing it, and all of a sudden you're getting all this extra hormones, then your liver starts having problems, the kidneys. And so it can make more of an issue than otherwise understanding why. And sometimes we do temporarily give the hormones because the symptoms are so severe, as we
Right.
work behind figuring out why, so that you can take the least amount of replacement that's going to be sufficient.
That's so good, because I think it can be like the holistic journey can be like frustrating whenever it is such a long journey. But I feel like when we start to talk about how it is better for us in the long run, and how we can help support our body, and also what you said a lot, and can you break what this means, is like you said that it helps our body get to homeostasis. What is homeostasis?
It's a balance, is where the body is functioning optimally, meaning there is no chronic kind of inflammation, where inflammation is not a bad thing. We need that with any exposure, infection, but we don't want to be chronically inflamed, like chronically stressed. We want to get to the point where our bodies can recuperate, can regenerate when they need to. And it's a delicate balance, and it's a dynamic balance too, because it changes, depends on what life throws at us, And so giving people tools as to what to do in situations is very empowering.
No, I think that's absolutely amazing to be able to do that. Okay, so let's go back a little bit when you said something about chronic fatigue. Okay, so this one is one that I think we get a lot of comments on. I think people have kind of understood that, like, I've noticed it in conversations with people when it's like, how are you? Oh, I'm just tired. But that's just a part of life. Okay, so what you just said kind of like can contradict that thought process, where people are like, oh, we're just tired and that's just normal. So are you saying that that's not normal, and that there is a energized way that we could be living?
Yes, we always have to break it down. I mean, if you have a mother with 3 kids under 5, she's working, you look at all these factors, and then you say, well, okay, she's tired. But even in that scenario, there's still things you can do to enable a little more energy. Providing the better nutrients, proper nutrients, whether it's macro and micronutrients, the sleep, we can dig a little deeper into getting the better sleep. Water, what environment is she in? Can we remove some of the toxins that are causing more inflammation and hence causing more fatigue? This, everybody's a little different, but just saying, well, I have reasons to be tired. most of us have reasons to be tired.
Right.
But breaking it down a little more. So what can we do to enable you to be as refreshed in your stress as possible? If that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
No, I think that makes perfect sense because I do believe that like stress is a way of life. And like you said, and maybe you can touch on this a little bit more, is that inflammation isn't necessarily a bad thing, but living in inflammation is a bad thing. So what are the good things that inflammation can do, and where are the bad things that inflammation like lead to?
Well, the good things is like if you have a viral infection, you get a fever, you feel terrible, you're symptomatic, you're cold, you might get redness, but over a few days you get better and you start feeling better. But what would it be like if you kept on the malaise, the fatigue? That's not good, because your immune system is so dysfunctional, it's not able to get rid of the bugs, it's not able to fight them. And that's where, medications do come into play. But the chronic exposure to, for us here in Houston, I see a lot of mold, and you're in an environment where you continually have toxins or mycotoxins, and your body doesn't know what to do with it. So it's a chronic inflammation, and you feel terrible. So those are things we can specifically address to get out of that chronic inflammation.
That's really cool. So I know this wasn't on the list of questions, but I'm just curious, do you have any stories over your past 40 years that you genuinely were just like, man, this was a moment that I was like, this is why I keep doing what I do? And there can be multiples.
I love hearing people say, you know what, I'm feeling so much better. To me, that's the best compliment I can have, that since I've been coming here, I'm feeling better. I have more zest for life. I enjoy life more. And sometimes it's not one thing you can pinpoint, but as they follow through day by day over time, you start, feeling like it's really worth coming. Because health, to me, that's top priority. You don't have your health, it doesn't matter what else you have, you're not able to enjoy it, because you just don't feel well. So,
Right.
and over the years, I have worked many places in Canada, all over the place. I worked up north with way up on Hudson Bay, so it's a whole different environment there. I've worked out on the East Coast, fishing villages, urgent care, emergency hospital, clinics, and really, it's people come with need, and I'm really happy when I can help. And it's certainly, I try my best to not to take the issues home, but that happens. But I think recently my son, he's been healthy, he's 22. He developed a hypothyroid, and it took me months to figure it out. And sometimes I put myself down because how come I didn't see that? I'm the doctor, and how come I didn't see it? But he's doing better and he's understanding it better. But health, without health, it's just, life's not the same.
Right. No, absolutely. Okay. So you dove into a little bit about this just now, but like, what did you do before working at Hope for Healing?
Well, I'm from Canada. We came to the US in just before COVID, 2018. But before that, I was in Canada. We had my own clinic for 15 years. My husband ran the business, and we had another doctor there. It was a small operation, but it was great because I saw kids grow up, and that second generation. So it was a family practice, mainly the allopathic, and then I started doing functional, trying to incorporate that and doing it on different days. And because of the system in Canada, the social system, it didn't really work out. Because with functional medicine, you spend more time with people, for one, because a lot of it is educating, and you address dietary, those modifiable lifestyle factors, dietary, sleep, some of these things that in allopathic medicine, it's not really addressed in depth.
Mhm.
So it didn't really work out. And I had done all my education in the US. So that was, we had to move. we took
Yeah.
the, we made the plunge and moved here so that I could do this full time.
That's amazing. So what has been one of your favorite parts of coming into Hope for Healing and joining this team?
Well, when I came here, I went through 2 other locations before landing at Hope for Healing. And it's really here, the environment of caring and really genuine caring and the love for one another and based on biblical principles, that is fundamental.
Mhm.
And Dr. K is absolutely amazing. I get emotional when I think about her and how much I love her and how much she's done for my life, and support and care and that we give that to the patients. We really provide them a home to heal, and that is the heart, and it's a genuine heart. That's the difference. So,
Mhm.
and the support, the learning, I'm learning every day and I love it. And I'm always thinking, how come I don't know this? Or, wow, this is so much to learn, and to not be intimidated by how much to learn, because there's always more, and
Mhm.
staying on top of things. That's great. And being able to say, I don't know, but I'll find out, you know,
Yeah.
and to always have that heart for people.
Mhm. Yes. Like, I'm just getting like, I know, right? I didn't think I needed tissues for this. Um, but what I think is super interesting, and not even interesting, I think it is truly something that you carry is that you do carry that compassion into your visits with your patients. And I remember being on an event and you were like listening in on it, but then you came to me with your like, hey, you said this and I learned this over here. So let's try this thing and to like help. And you continually are keeping your ears and your mind and your heart open to how to best serve our patients. So yes, Dr. K is super brilliant and we're super lucky to have you. But I know for a fact that every person in the office would also say the same about you. We are so lucky and privileged to have you and the wisdom that you bring. So I've appreciated learning about your education and your history and your family. So let's get a little bit like deeper into who is Dr. Brigitte? What do you like doing for fun? What are some of your hobbies? Like, let us know.
Well, I endeavor to practice what I preach for sure, because then it's genuine. So I do enjoy exercise. It's been a journey of different exercises as I've changed season of life. But I do enjoy the group exercises at the gym. I like the environment, the encouragement, and the fun it is to meet people doing similar things. And so right now I'm more into. I've just started doing Zumba. I did a couple of classes.
Ooh.
So that was fun. It was fun. I'm not as well coordinated as some of the others, but I'm getting there. I really enjoy yoga. Just the relax and stretch in yoga. I think that's really important to de-stress and to make a connection, so that our bodies are taken care of. And I do enjoy going on the treadmill. I do enjoy walking, but Texas recently has been just too hot. I'm from the
Yes.
Caribbean, but this is heat that is I can't, it's not something to be outside. I see people running outside and I just shake my head. But that I enjoy, and I fight for exercise because it definitely helps me, helps my mind
Mm.
to get in, whether it's after work or and definitely on the weekends. The other thing I love to do is read. I mean, growing up, I read all the time. I like fiction, murder mysteries.
Ooh, me
I
too.
I love that. What's his name? Baldacci. David Baldacci is my
Oh,
favorite
fun.
author. I've read every book of his, but I've put this kind of on the back burner because I'm again taking a course, Institute of Functional Medicine. It's a fellowship. So I've been doing that over the last 3 years and plan to write the exams next year. So
It's amazing.
that is the focus, the learning there. So that's taken part of my time when I'm not at work.
Mm.
What else do I enjoy? Well, we have a Bible fellowship at home. My
Mhm.
husband and I both teach the Bible, and I took 5 years off of work from my practice to go and train to do a Bachelor of Theology, actually in Indiana, well, Ohio mostly. So we
Mm.
have fellowships in our home twice a week, and we teach about God and His Word, and it all works together. And that pretty well takes my time right there.
Yeah, absolutely. You said something that I would love for you to speak into. You said that you fight for your exercise and to keep it in. Can you talk about that process? Because I think there are definitely times in our correspondent with patients and just my talking with my individual coaching that I do so frequently, it's like, man, I know this is good for me and I know that it helps me, but I just can't get it in my schedule. So, but what you're saying is like you have to like put down boundaries to be able to keep to that. Can you talk to how you did that, the journey you took into protecting that, and how you keep it in your life? You have like I just heard about your life. I'm like, wow, that's a lot. How do you keep exercise a part of it?
Well, I've been known to run out of the office to go to the gym. I gotta go. I just gotta go. I rush to relax, but it's in the planning, figuring out what time the classes are, and I think of that before the day of the class, so that I have in
Mm.
mind. Like today, I have my gym bag in the car, so I know after work that's where I go. It's all in planning, and it's really just doing it because you know the benefits that are going to happen, and my husband sometimes has to talk me out of feeling guilty if that day I didn't go and something came up, then you don't start putting yourself down. You just keep moving ahead and
Mm.
finding things you enjoy, you know, because they'll give you more incentive to do it, and
Mm.
so whatever movement activity that there is that enables you to have that physical fitness or that physical endurance, because we need that as we get older. This
Yeah.
year I'm celebrating 65, so it's a figure, it's a number, but sometimes I feel it as well. But it's all part of moving forward and being healthy and having optimal health in life.
Mm. So good. So good. And I feel like I love what you said. It's like finding something that you love, something that is fun. There's so many different types of movement that you can find something you love. And yes, probably in Texas, you probably won't want to start out with running. You're right. Like being outside and doing that, unless that's your thing. And you're like, actually, I can't get enough outside, then you're crazy. And you should probably come in and get a drip. No, we love you if you love to be outside and run. Okay. So something that we do within our practice, and for those of you who are just getting to know us, or some of you who've been here for years, we're going to start incorporating a lot of this into the external language, but internally we talk about a lot about like biohackers. We are biohackers. So currently, what is your favorite biohack?
Right now, I've been focusing on breathing. I do breathe all the time, but just really breathing exercises to get out of the sympathetic into the parasympathetic, or getting out of stress, anxiety, or feeling the pressure of what needs to be done by just taking a few minutes to breathe with a purpose, taking time to inhale and count. And yoga really helps me with that, because that's what we do the whole hour. It's breathing with movement. And at the end, we have that shavasana where you actually lay down and breathe for 5 minutes. Just practicing that, and it doesn't take long, and it can be done several times during the day, just as long as you have the mental cues to remember to do it. It's a great way of helping your body de-stress, and it's simple, doesn't cost anything, and it's private. Nobody needs to be aware that you're doing that, and it really helps. It even doing that right before bed. Even right before, as you're laying in bed, helping to go to sleep. We are so busy, and life gets so busy that our breathing is not, it's automatic. So we'll breathe, but as we do it consciously, we get better benefits from them.
What are some of those benefits that we can get by breathing consciously?
Gets better mental clarity.
Oh, wow.
I did my breathing exercises before this interview.
Right.
It really helps your perspective, just
Mhm.
taking a moment to draw back from whatever you have to face or decision you have to make. It helps relax. It's good for digestion. It helps
Oh, wow.
your heart rate, get you the heart rate more stable down.
Mhm.
It has, a lot of benefits.
That's amazing. That is so it's something as simple as breathing. Like that
There's
is
a
really amazing.
there's a whole course on breathing. I mean, I've been starting to look into it, just starting, but some people they have different types of breathing and different names. It's quite a field. But the bottom line is just practicing slowing down your inhalation, holding your breath, and then slowly letting it out. Just doing it with purpose and getting those lungs filled with the air, with oxygen.
Yeah.
So that's great.
I remember whenever we did the event, the depression, getting to the root of depression, anxiety, and it got to the point where I was meeting with Jane and we were doing like the impromptu coaching session. And I remember going, okay, how are we going to do this? What are we going to do? What are we going to say? God, help me, give me the, give me the support. And then I knew we were going to start out with the breathing exercise. And so we started with the breathing exercise. And I remember there being a moment after the breathing exercise to go, oh, okay, this isn't as hard. I do this all the time. And it was that moment of going like, oh, wow, this breathing thing really works. And like to be able to pause in the middle of that. And it can seem so simple, but that's what I think I love about it is like, we can find the time to do that at any point of the day. And yes, doing it before events like this is really perfect to kind of bring clarity to your mind. So I think that's amazing. Okay, so another question we have for you is what is your favorite free treatment or modality at this moment? Just at the moment.
Well, free, meaning that it doesn't, it's
Well,
totally up to you. And I look at the modifiable lifestyle factors. Those are all things that we have control over. And water is a big thing for me, making sure you stay well hydrated. Always have a big water bottle, not too far away. And then the type of water. My husband and I finally, for the holidays, we bought ourselves an ozone machine. And
oh,
so we
wow.
make ozone water every morning, and that's what we drink. And I bring some in, and we have it's filtered water, and just remembering to drink water. Our body really needs the hydration, and being mindful of how much you've consumed in the day, and just working with that. The other thing I look at sleep, another fundamental. There's so many people that have sleep issues and don't sleep, and I can't say I'm a perfect sleeper, but always looking at what else can I do to improve my sleep. Is the environment, is it dark? We have a cat that 4 o'clock in the morning he wakes up, and and he figures everybody should be up at that time. So learning how to handle that, we go to bed early then. So by 4 o'clock, we've had a good night, because trying to get a place where we can get sleep and get that refreshing, because nothing beats waking up refreshed. That feeling of ready for the day, and having that every day, and whatever it takes to make the conditions the best so that you can get sleep. And that's what we do a lot at Hope for Healing and Functional Medicine,
Yeah.
whether it's the health coach that starts the ball rolling, making a deep dive into why the sleep issues, and then looking at genetics. We have clues in there as well. And then when you meet with the provider, what specifically are the issues with sleep, to get to that refreshing, rejuvenating, restorative sleep. And I'm always learning more what different supplements, or whether it's different conditions in the room. There's so many things that can help you get a good night's sleep. Yeah.
That is so good. I think what I love about it is when you said, let's go back to the modifiable lifestyle factors. It's almost something we can always revisit to say, okay, I've gotten in the rhythm of this current new system, and now let's go revisit more things that I can add in. Because I don't know that anybody ever like peaks, like I now know all the things, I now do all the right things, is that we're constantly growing and learning things that we can add in. And so going back to the modifiable lifestyle factors is always a win. And so I know we have sleep, you mentioned, as well as well, actually, isn't movement a part of that too?
Oh yeah, movement, water, and food.
Yes.
My favorite topics. I love
Yes.
cook. I love to cook, and I'm always learning. Um, I've gone through every type of diet, so to speak, and learning more. I mean, recently, well, in the last few years, going more the gluten-free and dairy-free, and really making the dive there to be very consistent with that. And my son having a thyroid issue and
Mhm.
Hashimoto's, Jeff certainly drew the line in the sand there for him.
Yeah.
And he's really seen the benefit of being totally gluten and dairy free. And in college, it's tough. I mean, he likes to cook too, so but it's always he has to eat different than his friends, you know.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge, but he recognizes health comes first, and learning new recipes. That's a great thing here at Hope for Healing with the coaches, and there's always try this, and we always have different refreshments that people bring. It's exciting because the kitchen is such a great part of the house. You know, it's
Mm.
really I would say the life of the house is what's going on in the kitchen. And that's where we have social. That's where we enjoy eating and finding things that are going to be beneficial for our bodies.
Yeah. What have been some of your favorite meals that you've discovered when you were going gluten and dairy free?
Quinoa. Quinoa, my favorite grain. I've tried it for breakfast. I've tried it as a savory and as a sweet, you know, put in the blueberries and the almond milk in there and some maple syrup and having that for breakfast.
Oh,
And then
wow.
doing the stir fries with the quinoa, having it as a with a side. I mean, it's just it's a wonderful grain.
That's amazing.
The multiple ways of cooking quinoa.
We'll have to have an event about that. Just
Yes.
the multiple ways of cooking quinoa. I love it. That's exciting. Okay, so I loved because I get to see your like y'all's bullet point answers whenever I do this event. And so y'all are really great. So I love this question because it is going to be different than the traditional PEA as a response. So what is your favorite supplement and why?
Well, I like vitamin D3, K2. I mean, I grew up in the Caribbean with sunshine. I mean, I was definitely a lay in the sun with baby oil kind of person, you know, it got crisp. Vitamin D is wonderful. And then learning more of all the functions of vitamin D from head to toe. It's important for the brain, for the skin, for the lungs, for the heart. I mean, your bones, keep your bones strong. And then vitamin D, we have spent so much time inside, you know, a lot of people are deficient in vitamin D. And
Mhm.
even if they're outside, if genetically you're not able to convert it properly from the sun, then you're deficient. And it's such a simple fix. That's what is so beautiful about vitamin D3, K2. You can measure it in the blood. A simple blood test will tell you where you are. And making sure that that level is optimized. It's simple in a drop every day, and putting in the K2 so you keep your calcium in your bones, you know, it doesn't get deposited in the arteries and plaques, and understanding that and knowing that to do that on a regular basis is what you can do to help your body work more efficiently.
That's amazing. Well, especially because I feel like out of most of our supplement, this is one of the easiest to get in
Yeah.
your body. Like it's like drop, 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 and you're good. And I felt like I think that for me was the first supplement that I like was like, okay, I can do this. Like I can do this. And it kind of helped the ball rolling when it comes to success with supplements. Okay,
think
so
traditional
oh yeah,
medicine is, I think traditional medicine is finally catching on with this vitamin D, finally over how long that
right.
simple, and they are measuring it, you know. I remember in Canada, I don't know how it is here, but Canada, in the medical system, they pay for everything. But vitamin D, they wouldn't pay for it. So patients would have to pay cash for it. You know, I don't know if things have changed, but it was like, why are you ordering a supplement level? You know, geez, or a vitamin level. You know, so it was just very interesting.
Yeah. Well, and I do feel like that has like had to start to change very, very recently. Like we start to hear people talking about that. And I know you've talked about this a little bit throughout this. But as we wrap up this conversation, I'd really love to hear a little bit more about ways you've either had to overcome in your life or have applied functional medicine principles in your own life. With whether that's with, I know you were talking about like your hormone, I know you've implemented a lot within the cooking. So what did that process look like for you?
Well, the big thing with change into functional medicine is a way of thinking. It was not, you know, with traditional, so you go into the doctor, you have a bronchitis or you have a cold or whatever the concern is, the first thought for the doctor is, okay, what medication is going to fix this? You know, you're always thinking, you know, that way, but now thinking more why, you know, what happened to cause this, and what can we do to resume balance. You know, sometimes you still do need the antibiotic,
Right.
but what can you do to prevent future need? You know, what is it in your environment that's happening or in your system that's not allowing you to fight this infection? So for me, with, you know, changes starts at home. And
Right.
so my son is tired of me saying, okay, you should try this. This is going to help this, you know, no, you shouldn't, no, let's eat this instead. Changing the menus at home, you know, changing, you know, we don't have Advil for everything, you know, that kind of thing. And so really understanding health is our responsibility, each person's responsibility to do their best. And you have to do that having information. If you don't know, you don't know. So
Right.
making changes in way of life, stress control, those modifiable lifestyle factors really make a big difference. I'm not sure if
Right.
I answered your question here.
Well, yeah, you kind of went in this beautiful direction of talking about how you've applied it and how that helps you also encourage your patients to kind of apply that within their life, and you learning to do the gluten-free, dairy-free, and you including that within your family, because I think that's exactly what our patients don't always get to see. That part is that this wasn't all of our providers go to at the very beginning of their life, and that y'all had to learn this just as much as we're in this process of educating our patients, is that we had to learn this. We had to live where this was new to us at some point, and therefore we know how to rewrite. I mean, like, I remember growing up and being told that, like, if you didn't drink a glass of milk a day, you were going to be like, your bones were going to be brittle, and like that there weren't other ways of doing things. And so y'all have had, like, as the providers, y'all have done such a great job of communicating. And that's why we have these events, is like, when I get to talk to you, you're like, oh, this is what I learned. So yeah, you answered the question beautifully, to be able to dive into that and see that we are learners. Okay. So last question. At Hope for Healing, we enjoy being lifelong learners, as you know, and as we've talked about. But what is something that you're learning about right now that is bringing you joy?
What am I learning right now? Well, I'm delving into understanding more the whole cholesterol story. What, you know, it's more than just not eating trans fat. There is more, and I'm learning to understand the genetic components and also lifestyle components, and because high cholesterol is a big deal with the allopathic medicine, and we're all everyone is being placed on medication. So is there
Right.
other ways? And learning to understand and more than what I know now and what we can do to help our patients navigate this cholesterol. I guess it's a high cholesterol, low cholesterol, what's the optimal level of cholesterol? And we do need cholesterol to make our hormones, to make our cortisol, we need some. We can't have no cholesterol. So understanding that is something right now working through and working with labs that offer some more expanded tests to be able to give people better information.
That's amazing, especially because one of the things that we're really excited about is what our patients want to know, what they get asked, what are those things that it is super easy. Oh, we're just going to put you on this prescription or that prescription, or this is what you have to do. And so diving into something like that would be super beneficial for so many people. Also because it's something that gets talked about a lot. And like, I mean, just being 100% transparent where you're like, we need cholesterol. I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about like how frequently we try to go the other extreme. And so to really find again, like the word that you used, homeostasis within the body. And so that is genuinely brilliant. And I'm excited to hear more about your journey and all that you're learning at a later time. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for your time, Dr. Brigitte. It is always a pleasure to get to talk to you. But what is super important about this time was just to get to know who you are and just how you got here. And again, congratulations again on the many years of service. We are super honored and thankful to have you.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
We'll talk with you later. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.